So in the past few months, I've been selling a lot of the items that I own for two primary reasons. One of them being for financial purposes. I found that I don't need as much stuff, and if I can free up cash in my budget, it's going to allow me to spend more money on areas in my life where I actually want to spend money. But the other reason was to sort of take a minimalistic approach on life, to simplify everything that I'm doing in my life. So when I buy items today, it has to fit one of two criteria, and I still buy things, I still pay for things, but it has to fit one of two very strict criteria. It either has to be something that's going to end up saving me money, and I'm going to show you some of those in this video, or even potentially making me more money by spending a little bit of money on some of these items, or it has to be something that is going to provide some type of value in my life, where it's either bringing some joy to my life, or it's something that's going to simplify it and speed up the process of something that I'm doing. So if there was something that took me 15 minutes before, and now this item can do it in 2 minutes, that's something that I will consider getting as well, because time is money and we all have the same time in our day, and it's very important to take very good care of your time. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about some of the items that I pay for, some of the things that I buy. One of them, the first one that we'll bring up here, is actually I pay for a bike membership program. Now, for a lot of people, they might just be better off buying a bicycle, but this really kills multiple birds with one stone. And my point is here that not only are you going to be saving money by using your car less, it doesn't mean that you don't need a car whatsoever. I know a lot of people need cars, but by having a bike, if you have to go half a mile down the road somewhere, consider just biking instead of driving. It's going to do a couple things. First of all, it's a lot healthier, it's a lot better for the environment, but also it's going to save you money by not racking up the miles in your vehicle, by not using gas, and it's going to be better, you're going to be healthier by deciding to bike places instead of drive everywhere that you go. So I pay for a bike membership program here. Now, not everybody's going to want to do that, but for myself, I found it was just easier to do that instead of actually having a bike where it would probably get stolen, especially here in the spot that I'm in. It would probably get stolen. I know a lot of people have had their bikes stolen, so it's just easier for me to have this $10 a month bike membership program. Now, another thing that I will buy that I have bought, it probably cost me about $30. It was a very simple water filter. Now, this is not a Brita filter, this is kind of a better one, but it filters out most things in water, and it saves me so much money because now I don't have to worry about drinking tap water with terrible things in it, because a lot of city water, or even in rural areas, if you have your own well, people don't have great water, and because of that, they go out and they buy jugs of water. It uses a lot of plastic, but it's also just a waste of money. I hate paying for water. I never pay for water. I just think it's not something that you need to do. And there are very, very strong filters out there as well for people who live in an area where the water's not good whatsoever. There's things that can filter out lead, filter out a lot of different things that you need to filter out, and it's going to save you a lot of money in the process. Now, something else that I pay for is actually haircuts. So for the longest time, for the first 18 years of my life, I never went to a barber. Like literally the first time I went to a barber, I was 19 years old, I was in college. Before that, I used to cut my own hair. Sometimes my mom would help me with it as well. And it was horrendous. It was absolutely terrible. And I cringed thinking about it, how bad my haircut was that I would do for myself. And it wasn't really to save money, I suppose. I just never thought about going to a barber. But now I realize that it's important to put a little bit of money into your appearance. I'm not saying that I have the best hair now, it's still not that great. But I think it's important to invest a little bit of money into your appearance. I think that people who totally neglect it and they wear raggedy clothes and they just try to save as much money as possible, but they have some money in their budget to spend a little bit of money on their appearance, maybe get some nicer dress clothes instead of some $10 dress shoes that you can tell are from Kmart. Getting something that's a little bit nicer is going to help you, because there is so much truth to that term when people say dress for success. There's a lot of truth to it. And if you're dressed well, if you look good, then you're going to find more success all around. That's just from what I've found. Maybe that's anecdotal, but that's just what I've seen. Now, I also think that paying for some type of health insurance is important. If you're outside of America, you probably don't even, might not even cross your mind, especially if you live in Europe. We're not going to get political here, but my point is that I think everybody should be paying for health insurance or should have health insurance, because I've seen some of my close friends or even one of my cousins who in their young 20s said, you know what, I don't need health insurance because I'm young, I'm healthy, and something happens. And one of two things happens. They either go to the doctors or the hospital and they end up paying thousands of dollars for this health problem that they have, which they don't have that money, so they end up in a really big problem. Or even worse in some cases is that they have some type of medical problem, but they don't go to the doctors because they know it's going to cost them money, so then they end up with long-term health implications because they didn't have health insurance. Now, there's a lot of different types of insurance out there. Some people choose to not have insurance. That's up to you, obviously. Some people don't want dental insurance. Some people don't want homeowners insurance. But in general, I think insurance is a pretty good idea for most people, from what I've seen. And I feel better about myself going throughout my day knowing that I'm insured with pretty much every area of my life. And it just gives me a little bit more peace of mind for myself that I know if I get hit by a bus, some type of insurance is going to cover me for all of my medical bills and I'm not going to go bankrupt from that. So I also bought this drying rack. It's very simple. What I love about this is that, sure, it does save me probably about $2 per week whenever I do laundry, which is usually on a weekly basis, sometimes maybe every 10 days or 2 weeks if I really stretch it for my laundry. But generally speaking, this is going to save me about $2 a week, which adds up to $100 per year, which honestly, that's not that much money. $100 per year is not very much. I really kind of do this just because I don't like using that much energy. I think that using a dryer is kind of pointless. That's just my personal opinion. It really takes the same time for me to throw some clothes onto this rack than it does for me to throw clothes into a dryer and then wait 45 minutes for it to dry. So I just like doing this for those reasons, to save a little bit of money, but more so just because I just don't need to use a dryer. It's the same reason why I don't use plastic bags at the store. I just don't really need to use them. Now, I also think that paying for some types of educational materials can be worth it in some cases. So I know for myself that I don't like spending like thousands of dollars on education. I think there's so much free education out there. But let's say that you are about to get on a flight. It's a 12-hour flight. You're going across the world and you want to buy an ebook for $12. And it's a business book or honestly any type of book for that matter. I think that's a great investment. I think it's something that you should always be willing to spend some money on because increasing your human capital, it's hard to put a price on that. You're investing into yourself, into your own brain, and that, in my opinion, is almost always going to be worth it. Another thing that I love to do, wrapping it into this sort of paying for some types of education, and they should be sponsoring this video, I should just reach out to them, but something like Udemy or even Skillshare with these somewhat inexpensive online courses that you can take for $10 and you can learn the basics of Adobe Photoshop, or you want to learn how to edit videos. You can just take some very inexpensive courses on there and get the basics, the groundwork of it. If you want to get into photography, there's all kinds of different things out there to get the basics of learning different skills on something like Udemy for $10, $20, maybe $30 for an online course. I think those are worth it in my opinion. Like I said, they're not sponsoring this video. I really wish they would. Now, I also think that paying for really nice Wi-Fi is important for myself. This is a personal decision, but I know that when you think about how much time you spend waiting for something to buffer, if you have slow Wi-Fi, you know exactly what I'm talking about, especially when you think back to like dial-up internet, you have to wait forever, right? Well, even today, I really feel like I need fast internet because I do a lot of work from home. Now, if you're in the position where you only use your Wi-Fi at home for Netflix and watching YouTube and movies, then maybe you can get away with using some lower speed Wi-Fi. But for me, because I do so much work from home with it, I need to have fast Wi-Fi and I'm willing to pay for it. Now, speaking of Wi-Fi, there's something else that I think is important. We're just going to throw this in here very quickly, is having some type of VPN. So a virtual private network. We're not going to get too deep into it, but essentially if you're using Wi-Fi at your local library, at airports, at cafes, Starbucks, McDonald's, wherever it is, if you're using public Wi-Fi, you probably want to have some type of VPN. I'll leave a link for it down in the description below on this video. I use NordVPN. I got you guys 75% off discount when you use the link down in the description below. They're not really sponsoring this video. They kind of are, but they're not. They didn't reach out to me, but it is a link that does help this channel, supports the channel. So if you're interested in getting a VPN and protecting all of your information when you're using public Wi-Fi, check out that link down in the description below. So There's some other things that I think are important for myself. I know that I spend money on Tupperware. I don't have a lot of it. I think there's a nice balance here, but I don't use Ziploc bags. It probably saves me like $1 per month. I don't really care about the money, but where it really saves me money is because I have this Tupperware, I'm more incentivized to pack a lunch if I'm going somewhere for the day and I'm not gonna be back for a while. I have Tupperware so I can just throw sandwiches in there, I can throw some other types of food in there, and then throw it in my backpack and go, instead of doing what a lot of people do where they don't have any Tupperware or even Ziploc bags and they end up just leaving their apartment, leaving their house for the day, and then come lunchtime, they go out and they buy some Chipotle or they buy some lunch somewhere because they don't have any food on hand. So Tupperware actually saves me a lot of money in that specific case. So I still haven't bought a French press yet. I'm thinking about it. I've been feeling a lot of pressure on it. But I do pay a little bit more money for some higher quality clothing. I'm not talking about $1,200 Gucci jackets and $1,400 Louis Vuitton boots. What I mean by this is getting some clothing that's not $2 t-shirts from Walmart, because I used to buy those, especially when I had no money whatsoever, especially in college. I would buy the cheapest clothing possible. But now, as a little bit of money freed up in my budget, I decided that it's better to buy some somewhat middle of the road clothing where maybe I spend $10 on a t-shirt instead of $2, and this way I can have fewer shirts, they last longer, they look better, and it's just all around better for myself to have fewer clothing items but of higher quality for all of those items. Now, wrapping into this, we can also think about style and how you're kind of, what types of clothing you're buying. I think that people who buy the things that are super in style, say you go to Urban Outfitters, right, and you're buying like Champion sweatshirts, well, you know what? In 12 months, those things are gonna be out of style. You're gonna look like a fool. So what I do, and this is really because I just don't have style, I don't understand it, and I don't know how to match clothing. I'm just not good with that. So I just wear very simple clothing. You probably notice I wear a lot of black. I wear black pants, black shirt pretty much every day. The reason for that is I suck at style. I'm not good at it. So I just wear simple clothing, and it's hard to mess up wearing a black t-shirt or a maroon shirt. It's just very simple. So that's how I keep it, and it's kind of timeless. So buying timeless clothing as well, it's gonna save you a lot of money all around. Instead of kind of like trying to keep up with the trends all the time, it's gonna end up draining your wallet. It happens to so many people. They're spending thousands of dollars on clothing where you can just get some simple clothes that'll last you for years. And so the final kind of message in this video that I wanted to really bring across here is that if you are going to spend money on something, say you get a year-end bonus, you get $2,000 at the end of the year from your employer, and it's just really burning a hole in your pocket. You want to spend it, you don't know how to spend it, you've already saved a lot of money this year, so you say, you know what, you want to treat yourself with it. Now, you can do whatever you want. I spend plenty of money on travel and things that don't make much financial sense, but what I always try to keep in the back of my mind is, if I can take this money that I want to spend and I can spend it on something that retains its value or even makes me more money, that's a win-win all around the board. So a great example of this is when I was younger, I was probably 10 years old, maybe 11. I took all of my life savings and I bought a metal detector for $120 some. I loved this idea of like treasure hunting. And so I took this metal detector and I literally made money with it by going to the beach and going to parks and finding rings and all kinds of different jewelry. And I found a lot of coins and a lot of junk too. But I made money from a hobby. So if you want to spend money, see if you can find a hobby that retains its value versus a hobby that can be incredibly expensive. I know people who have hobbies that cost them so much money versus people who are indifferent about the hobbies. Both of them make them just as happy. They're just as satisfied doing either hobby, but they choose the one that costs them so much money instead of the other hobby that might retain value. That's just my opinion on it. So that's what I want to share with you guys today. If you enjoyed this video, if you found any value in it, make sure you subscribe to the channel, share this video with other people who are kind of interested in this field. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for watching the video. I really appreciate all the support, and I'll see everybody next time.